So, what's been happening in the news? Let's see, more news for this week. Well, we've announced, not only has Northcom, announced that they're going to put military on our streets, something to look forward to, huh? To go with those checkpoints. You're already used to them, right? Because they were sobriety checkpoints at first. Now it's where are your papers? Where are your papers? Yeah, so anyway, we're going to have gun confiscation drills in, I guess, Iowa in April. Hey, doesn't that sound like fun and exciting stuff? Yeah. Didn't they do that during Katrina? Going door to door in the high and dry areas? Check this out. And you thought I was kidding you. So, back to, what's the news? Well, we're back to the stimulus thing, which is an anti-stimulus, An economic collapse designed by the global elite bankers. This isn't just going to affect you here in Sharon. You probably have friends in other countries. Look what's happening in Greece, in Iceland, in France, in England, in Japan. Okay, the big productive place, Japan. How about China? What do you do with 30 million unemployed all of a sudden? Bing. Ooh, they're unemployed. And they might even be hungry and unhappy. So, if you could have planned this and orchestrated it, maybe you would have had your bought and paid for politicians write legislation for FEMA camps. Yeah, so we could house millions of Americans on army bases. Gosh, didn't they just do that last week? Oh, that's right. It was H.R. 645. I forgot. FEMA camps. I guess they get a place for you to stay when you get upset and maybe hungry. And I'm sure they'll have a vaccine for you, because they're the same people that tell you you need to get jabbed. Yeah, it's going to get really interesting. And all this time, you're going to be stimulated, right? Because it's a stimulus plan. Once again, you'll have enough money from the stimulus package, I'm told, to get a couple cups of coffee a week. So that's stimulating, isn't it? Yeah. So, rather interesting. Once again, I'm telling you that globally, this is my depressing part of the program, things are going to get depressed. This isn't just going to happen here. They've orchestrated this worldwide, okay, through this massive creation of credit. And now all the banksters have the money. And as the economies collapse, who's going to be able to buy up the stuff for pennies on the dollar? Do you ever study what happened in Argentina? How did those oligarchs get, power in Russia? Did they collapse their economy? Should we go over, how did Hitler do it? How does anybody do it? How do you take over countries? Let alone, what if you get your eyes set on the world? You don't just want a country. What good's a country? Heck, I'm a believer that I like countries, sovereign nations, stuff like that, because they act as like firewalls. Oh, Hitler might have been able to take over Germany and then invade a bunch of other countries, but lucky for us, there were separate sovereign nations who he didn't take over. When I say didn't, who fought and resisted. It may be the time now. Is it time for you to resist? Have you practiced resisting? Can you imagine yourself resisting the New World Order? Have you said no lately? When they say, oh, you have to have a national ID, have you said, no, I don't. I'm a sovereign. When they said, you've got to take your shoes off at the airport, you said, no, I don't. I'm not a terrorist. Yeah, some interesting things are coming in that stimulus package, that anti-stimulus package. There's a lot of provisions in there to create a larger police state, more control, because we need more badges, more guns to tell you what to do. Also, I think, there's some, not only the gun stuff in there, I think they're probably, I'm sure, building at least one golf course and a marina, right? Something like that, because that's the way you stimulate the golfers. And maybe not the Marines, but at least those who use the marina. Yeah. So anyway, the coming worldwide depression and stuff. Boy, it's not the first time. I guess it's happened before. Have you seen it happen before? And this whole money thing, right now, here we are a debtor nation. We don't even produce, we're a net food importer, and we're all borrowing money into debt up to here, and the country's in debt. I don't know, obligations of 50, 60 something trillion. They've now created enough money from nothing, money that didn't exist, to exceed like the national debt, over $8 or $9 trillion worth of new money creation. With that in mind, viewers, if all this new money is going to come into the market, created from nothing, then the money that's out there is going to buy less. So you may want to consider preparing yourself for hyperinflation. Yes, as all your friends and neighbors or whatever around the country lose their job, and those auto workers and the people that provide the parts to the auto workers and the refiners and miners and da-da-da-da-da. Well, think about it. If all this money gets put into the economy and it was created from nothing, it didn't take work, it didn't take effort, okay? It was just put in there, then the value of our currency is going to continue to go down. And this is happening around the globe because they're doing this globally. And so as this happens, you may ask yourself, would you be well served to have maybe in your portfolio precious metals? Would you be well served to have food stored up? You might even be able to barter with it. How about the thought of ammunition? Rather an interesting thought, huh? What's worth it when things get kind of crazy? Yeah. What was the Depression like? How many people starved to death in this country just in the Depression? So a thought, because of this world global, remember we got a global economy, who did all that benefit? Here we are playing policemen around the globe. After we've killed 1 million of those Iraqis who didn't attack us, remember we weren't attacked by Iraq, or were you? I forget, were you attacked by Iraq? Was that Iraqi attacking you? And what, we forgot to catch it on the news? Weapons of mass destruction, lies. You know, I mean, the only weapons of mass destruction they had were the ones that Donald Rumsfeld sold them. You know, let's shake the hands of Saddam in 1983. Gosh, it's almost like Orwell, 1984. They've got these fictitious threats. Meanwhile, they're spending us into oblivion. They're turning around taking your rights every day. And now telling you they're going to put military on your streets. They're practicing gun confiscations. They're building FEMA facilities, okay, to hold millions of Americans. Maybe not even Americans, but millions of people. Huh. And it's like it's not happening for you, is it? No, you don't see that, do you? You don't see the banksters. You don't see that all the stuff's been benefiting them, not you. Yet they want to squeeze you a little more. Here in Massachusetts, something new, a little news for you. I don't know if it was Duval, but someone in the Massachusetts government had a real good idea. Let's charge people for every mile they move. You moved an inch, there's a charge. You move 2 miles, there's a charge. The idea being is that we're going to charge you instead of, they'll tell you instead of gasoline tax, but they'll keep the gasoline tax. More importantly is think about what it was in the Globe, but think about what they were putting forth. The idea that we're going to charge you for every mile you travel. Well, to do that, what do they need? Do they need a bigger tracking grid? Are there not enough cameras on your streets? Does the people with the fast passes don't have enough transponders? Do they want to put a transponder on you? So the new guys in power, just like the old guys, they're taking away your rights. They're setting up gun control because why? Because it's reasonable. It's reasonable gun control. Yeah, those founding fathers knew nothing about tyranny. The Second Amendment's not important. Reasonable gun control. Matter of fact, they just came from Chicago, didn't they? Where there was gun control. Yeah, I remember the famous guys. Who were the most famous gun controllers? Well, you had Hitler. He had gun control. You had Stalin, another big advocate of gun control, and Mao. That's right, 60 million, right? This was a cultural revolution. Once again, people, have you seen this before? Are you being set up? Are they moving the chess pieces so that you and your family lose? Are you being lied to every day? Do they lie to you and tell you it's a stimulus package? When you look around, you don't see your economy being stimulated. If you do, please let me know. I'd like to see it. I'll even video it and bring it forth and back to you. I'm sure there'll be some good. Some good coming out of it? I'm sure there'll be some, and they'll tout it. That's just like, Obama came in, and sometime during his election, besides going to Chantilly, Virginia, while the Bilderberg, this is the global elitists were meeting, during my campaign, got to stop, left a bunch of people on his plane to fly to Chicago without him, even though he said he'd be there. He had to go somewhere, and they didn't tell you where, in Northern Virginia. And Bilderberg was meeting in Chantilly. But, yeah, where I'm going with it is, these globalists, wow, they now are going to have you paying a carbon tax. Yeah, want to exhale with me together? CO2. Yep.